All right, we get to this time of the week, and there's a lot of things during the week that I realize I probably neglected a little bit. You get hyper-focused on a few specific parts of a matchup. This is a big deal for the Chiefs and the Texans this week, obviously. Every week, the Texans feel like they're in a must-win situation because they've been hovering right around the 8th or ninth seed in the wild card round for weeks now as they continue to win games. They're 7-2 in their last 9 games, and yet they can't punch through. This is the week where they can, punch through for themselves, but also the Chiefs are in a position where they might have to win out to make the playoffs. And we know that Andy Reid is not going to stop fighting, as he said earlier this week.
We're going to try to tickle your tonsils on every play, every game, and but that's the attitude.
That's a ringtone on my phone. If you guys think I'm ever going to stop playing that, I will never stop playing that for the rest of my life. There's a few clips in here that I'm going to play again tonight just because I enjoyed them so much. But the one thing that I probably neglected during the week was to talk about Travis Kelce. I think because the Chiefs are struggling by going 500 compared to what they've been in the past, I think people have almost overlooked the fact that the Chiefs' offense really isn't all that much different than they've been, especially since Rashee Rice came back. So we'll hear a lot about Rashee Rice, and he is a very potent threat. Travis Kelce is averaging 12.2 yards per carry. That's back up to where he was a few years ago. He's on pace for 1,000 yards. He's played, by and large, a lot the same way he was before last season. We know the Texans had some trouble with him last year. Here is Matt Burke on Travis Kelce this season with some Travis Kelce highlights.
That's a very unique relationship, and I think when you talk about the off-schedule plays and the scramble drill and those sort of things, like I don't know how to sort of classify it. It's just different and it's unique because like sometimes you can't even tell what routes that are being run. You know what I mean? And so like when you're breaking games down, you're saying, oh, they run these routes and these concepts. And Kelce's got such an innate ability to uncover and get open, and to have that paired up with a quarterback that can find them and understand where those pockets are going to be is like very, very unique. I don't think there's anyone else in the league that operates the way they do when that happens, when the play gets going and play breaks down. Like the receiver's ability, particularly Kelce, to find the spots, and then the fact that Mahomes can find those throws and know where they're going to be. Like it's hard in terms of how you're trying to like get attached and get on guys because they're just not like in the common spots, and how they have that connection to say like, I know he's going to be there and I can make that throw, or I know this is where it's going to show up or where this receiver's going to be. Like we got to really work to get attached when we're in those situations.
Yeah, and look, everything that he said there, obviously we know, but it's hard to game plan for. He's a wild card, and we've seen this last year in the playoffs. Azeez Al-Shaair was playing but injured, and over the middle of the field, Travis Kelce really did some damage. When Justin Reed was talking earlier this week, I think he was on NFL Network, and look, Justin's got experience with both of these teams, has a lot of respect for D'Amico Ryans, and not that he played for D'Amico Ryans, but the one thing he said was, hey, with their backs against the wall, wounded animal, expect Andy Reid to pull out all the shots. One thing that I know people have said that this is what shows up in the playoffs is when they start doing things like sprint outs and backfield action. You look at the backfield there, and it looks like something out of the old the old Wishbone era. I know that's not Wishbone, the wing tee and whatnot. Backfield action. Do something to take some juice out of the pass rushers, get guys' eyes in the backfield, and then there you go to Travis Kelce. The other big thing is always just when Travis Kelce is the third option on a play, Mahomes starts off to the right, works to the left, works up in the pocket, boom, there he is. You just have to stay attached the entire time. When it comes to the dynamic between Rashee Rice, obviously the biggest threat. He's their leading receiver despite playing in half as many games as everybody else. He's played in 6 games so far. Yes, 100%. People have asked, is Derek Stingley going to travel with Rashee Rice, and is Kamari Lassiter going to play? I shouldn't say I expect Kamari Lassiter to play. If I had to gamble on it, I think there's a greater than 50% chance, unless I missed something in the last 12 hours or so. So he's got this foot injury. We know that Kamari Lassiter has to be dragged off the field if whether it's staying in to play his final bowl game in college or whatever. Kamari Lassiter is going to try to be out there. Stingley has stayed pretty much planted on the left side of the field for the better part of the season. There's 3 games where he's moved from left to right, but he's been down in the slot very rarely. So I don't expect them to move Derek Stingley around unless Kamari Lassiter is really banged up and they feel like it's affecting his play or something. Kamari's played well enough that I think they trust those guys to stay planted on either side. Kamari's obviously a huge X factor in this game. By and large, a lot of people still don't realize how good Kamari Lassiter is outside the city of Houston. Certainly Andy Reid knows it, and they're going to be eyeballing that really soon. They'll probably test Kamari Lassiter very early in the game. The one big matchup that I know John Harris said was, hey, Ed Ingram and Titus Howard and the interior offensive line versus Chris Jones. Chris Jones hasn't been himself, but Chris Jones is also under fire and making comments about how, they'll be back to themselves, all of that. Chris Jones is another wounded beast category type of guy. I would never count him out because I've done that too many times in games where Chris Jones will be silent for 3 quarters and then all of a sudden goes off in the 4th quarter. By way of just showing, and I think I showed this graphic earlier in the week, but the Texans offensive line has improved partly because A, the fundamentals are better, B, the ball's coming out a lot faster, way faster than it did in the last couple of years, but they also just have better players in there. When Ed Ingram and Titus Howard are there at the guards and Jake Andrews is steadily just playing more solid football, I feel better about their ability to handle Chris Jones than I have in the past. The interior offensive line, as Daniel Orlovsky gives his Daniel Orlovsky look, pointed out that plays pressure this year drastically down at this point in the season compared to this point in the season last year. Sacks allowed 14 compared to 25. I've seen people online get into arguments about, I guess some people saying, look, the Texans offensive line is awesome. And other people say, oh, no, they're not actually good at all because they're just getting the ball out quickly. It doesn't have to be binary. It's somewhere in between. The Texans offensive line has improved. I would point to just the success rate in the run game. They're not running the ball particularly well, but they're having successful runs where they get 4 yards on first down or they'll get 4 yards on a 2nd and 6. The success rate is better than it was last year. That allows you to stay on schedule. That allows you to get the ball out quicker on 3rd down because you don't have to be throwing past the sticks on 3rd and 15. That has gotten better by and large, and it's complementary. And a big part of it has just been that the receivers have also gotten better. The young receivers like Jaden Higgins have gotten better. So as they go against this Chiefs defense, one thing that's different this year compared to last year, remember last year in the playoffs, it was Nico Collins and a bunch of guys. This year, it's Nico Collins, it's Dalton Schultz playing more like 2023 Dalton Schultz, but it's also Jaden Higgins, it's also Christian Kirk. And I think Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, said something very accurate. I don't think he was just trying to butter up the Texans or something. This is just what we've seen from the Texans offense right this moment.
Listen, all of a sudden, it's all clicking, in my opinion. Getting the quarterback back. This may be one of the best overall receiver groups that we're going to see. They can run the football, and they got a quarterback that's dynamic with his feet and getting it out of trouble. So it doesn't get any easier. There's no soft pitches in this league. We need to play better defense. Hopefully, being at home, we can tick it up a little bit.
What will last 3, Sam?
Listen.
Yeah, and so things clicking right now, a lot of it has to do with young wide receivers playing more like veteran wide receivers, but also B, I think just all of the players being more comfortable in the system, including C.J. Stroud himself. They've got to do it. Really, the big test will come in the playoffs versus better defensive lines. So far this year, the Chiefs' defensive line is not what they were last year. Karlaftis isn't winning his one-on-ones the same way he did last year. He's not going to be facing Blake Fisher one-on-one nearly as many times as he did last year. If he did, it's going to be when Blake Fisher is the 6th offensive lineman instead of the starting right tackle. I mean, just having Ariante Ursary at left and being where he is now compared to where he was in weeks 1 and 2, and having Trent Brown at right tackle just makes it that much more solid and stable. And the Chiefs defense just isn't what they were last year. The Chiefs defense is still a top scoring defense, but they're just abysmal at taking the ball away. They haven't been sacking the quarterback. And it's really, when they blitz has been one of the most shocking things. I can't remember if I played this the other day or not, but here's Mina Kimes on the Chiefs blitz success rate this year.
When they blitz, they are 28th in pressure rate, 31st in yards per play, 25th in success rate. 2022 through 2024, so the previous 3 years, they were first in yards per play, second in pressure rate, third in success rate. So they've gone from being one of the best and most effective blitzing defenses to one of the worst by a pretty significant margin.
Yeah, and I know I know a lot of you've seen various stats when it's EPA, when they blitz, all of those things. They've gone from being one of the scariest blitzing teams in the league to one of the easiest to defeat versus the blitz. Now, the Cowboys really gashed them versus the blitz a couple times. Some of that was with Dak Prescott buying time and scrambling. We saw CJ get more comfortable with that as the game went along. We've seen that he's been very effective at times with that this year. But if we watch Stroud versus the blitz, and this is another one, the Colts, I don't think do as much of a sim blitz. Nico Collins coming into his own. We talk about things clicking. If you look at Nico Collins and his targets, in the last 5 games, he's had 5 or more targets. I think in 4 of those 5 games, or 5 or more targets, and he had 4 targets in one of them. But in all the previous games before that, it's in the last 6 games, I think he's had 5 targets or more 5 times. The previous games, there was like 1 instance of him having more than 5 targets. So that includes games with both C.J. Stroud and Davis Mills. It's just he's been much more consistently targeted. Jaden Higgins, likewise. You look at his targets early in the season compared to now, it's gone up. Dalton Schultz's receptions, they've gone up. I think they're just much better equipped right now than if they had faced the Chiefs early in the season. I wouldn't have felt nearly as good about it. Texans defense versus the Chiefs offense. Obviously, it's Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter versus their backup offensive tackles, most likely. For those of you who don't know, likely to be 3 offensive linemen injured for the Chiefs, and the Texans defense is playing as well as they have. I'm gonna play this again because I watch it in my spare time, so I think that maybe some of you guys haven't gotten sick of it. This is J.J. Watt on the Texans defense and what makes them good.
I mean, the number one thing you see about this defense is just pure intensity and violence. The way that they attack people, they have such strong bull rushes, speed to power, which then opens up all their speed rushes, their spins, everything else that comes along with it, and they do it together as a group. They never really let the quarterback slip out, or they never both get behind him or both get in front of him. They don't give escape lanes. They keep him bottled up, and it's very difficult for quarterbacks to play against that.
Yeah, simple as that. It's really, really difficult. The one thing, man, I don't think I have it here. It was a graph that showed the pre-snap operation of the pre-snap operation of various defenses in the league. I might have to show this just to I might have to bring this up. It's the pre-snap operation of defenses in the league and how much they blitz and how much they disguise their blitzes. And if you look at what the Texans do, it's a lot of fun because let's see if I have it. Yeah, here we go. How often defenses blitz and how often they disguise coverage pre-snap to post-snap. So the vertical axis is disguised coverage rate. The Texans are down there near the bottom. They say, we're lining up in cover 2 or cover 3 or cover 4, and good luck. Their blitz rate, it's interesting because I think I've seen the Texans at more of like the median for blitz rate. This graph has them pretty low, and some of that might come into how they define a blitz. Like back in the day, and I still think a lot of defensive coordinators would call a blitz as if you bring 6 guys. If you bring 5 guys, it's a dog. The Texans will bring 5 guys with somewhat regularity. 6 guys, they do it very selectively, and there's kind of an ambush factor to it when they do it. But I do love that, by and large, the Texans defense just lines up and say, look, it is what it is, good luck. And then they bludgeon you over the head. Okay? The Chiefs right now are a fish you just pulled, and you're going to keep it because it's a big fish. I'm not throwing the Chiefs back. I don't care that they're a 500 team. You see that logo? I want that up on my wall. Bam. Little miniature baseball bat. Bam. Bam. Club in an extra time just to be sure. Okay? The league will thank us for it.